Welcome, everyone, and hello, Nate.
Hello, Greg. Hello, everybody out there on the internet. Welcome to another episode of What's This Bird live from the
Yes,
American Birding Association, your friendly North American Birding Association. We're
yes,
here to talk birds and bird identification at you. On this chilly day here where I am in the southeast. It's like we don't usually get a fall spring, Greg, but we had one this year, and then
it's
winter came
spring.
back briefly. So it goes. Anyway,
Yep.
what do we got here? We got a lot of folks on the internet saying hello.
Yeah.
Hello to Patty Yelton and Scott Dickman from Michigan and Julie Willis from Sedona, Matt Malky in San Francisco Bay, Linda Spohr from Pittsburgh, Eric Yanyo, Western Cuyahoga, Audubon, who's dealing with the same thing that I'm dealing with. Dennis Parslow from Raleigh, Alan Brown from Cedar Falls, Baron Scott from Maryland, Marsha Balestri also from Maryland, Wayne, the boss, he's here. Hey, boss, Neely Folk in Shelburne, Massachusetts, Michelle Paplava from Denver, Andrew from DC. We got so many people. We got so many people saying hello on the
Yeah.
YouTube feed.
We got
Yeah,
on
happy
Facebook here, we got,
Friday the 13th to you all.
oh, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, we got some
We
scary
got we
bird
got Len
ideas.
we got Len Copwood, but we've got Anuj Gamir
Hey, Anuj,
on
former ABA
Facebook.
podcast guest.
Yeah, he says windy and cold in Fargo. Yes, it is windy and
Can't,
cold
can't imagine to be
everywhere
any other way,
in
honestly.
the upper Midwest and the Great Plains. We've got 60-mile-an-hour winds here today. It's kind of
Yeah,
crazy.
I'd put
Been a real
I'd put
roller
the long
coaster.
sleeves and I'd put the long sleeves and the hoodies away for the season, and then had to dig them back out yesterday. It was unpleasant. Um, yeah, it's great to have you here. For folks who are perhaps new
Yes,
to this
we
podcast,
hope
not
so.
podcast, online streaming segment, the American
You
Birding
know what? You know what?
Association.
We can call it a show. I think
It's
it's
kind
at
of
this
a
point
look.
we can
Podcasts are
call it
like
a
visual
show.
now,
I know.
and I don't like that at all. Podcast is an audio medium for me. If you've
Yeah,
got a camera on you, it's a show. It's a live stream.
yeah.
It's a
It's a
web
show.
show. It's not a podcast. Stop it. Stop it, world.
I love you. Stop it.
Um, the ABA hosts a number of groups on Facebook primarily, but also these days on ABA Community. And one of the busiest is What's This Bird? It is a place where people can post their photos, post their images, their videos, their descriptions on, and our friendly community will help you identify those birds for you. Every once in a while, we get some birds that are worth I don't know, taking a second look at, talking through with a little bit more detail, and that's what we do on these bi-weekly or so shows. Greg grabbed some interesting photos from the last few days on What's This Bird, and we're going to talk through them with your help. It is
Yeah,
a live bird ID on a high wire, no net, folks.
that's true.
And we will, although isn't all bird ID sort of
I,
high wire? Yeah, whatever.
yes.
If you have any
Uh,
questions, comments, interesting observations, things of that nature that you'd like to throw us in the comments, we're live on Facebook and in YouTube, and we will be happy to take a little bit of a tangent to chat through
yeah.
those with you, as always. But yeah, we're waiting for folks to get settled. Everybody getting in. This is the monologue segment of the program. Um, how's birding for you? It was
Well, we
spring was coming gangbusters, and then it all stopped like
the
yesterday
same
afternoon.
same thing here. We had cranes and hawks in the air. We had really
Excuse me.
warm temperatures, um, and then yeah, it all stopped yesterday. And today it is extremely windy and it's very cold. And this weekend, it looks like the upper Midwest is going to get a blizzard across
Mm.
Wisconsin and upper Michigan, and probably making it down as far south as Chicago, as far as some sticking snow. Hopefully, we're not going to get anything major, but yeah, I mean that's March.
Yeah,
It's a
lousy smarch weather.
it's
Um,
also a great time to be out looking for birds because this is
yeah,
this is
stuff's starting to
when
come.
this is
Stuff's
when
starting to rise.
interesting stuff starts to show up.
Yeah,
Um,
we had reports of Louisiana water thrushes here in North Carolina about a week ago. Right on time. Usually, first week of March is when they come in, and then things will start peering in until the big rush, in mid-April and on through mid-May. Solamente V's greetings from Hawkwatch in Tubac, Arizona. I hope you're getting a lot of Raptors moving overhead. Justin and Emily checking in from Milwaukee blew off work to watch the show live. Can't say I recommend that every
Ex-
time, but hey, if you work from home and you want to throw
Excellent.
us on the side,
Yes.
I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to tell on you. Your secret is safe with us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Laura on Facebook asks about telling Smooth Build from Groove Build Ani. Are there any differences between
Oof.
the two except for the bill? Really, the bill is it.
Really, the bill.
I mean, that's
The name says it, doesn't it?
and
Um, Groove Build
and
has
range.
grooves, and it's usually a smaller ridge. Like Smooth Build has
Yeah,
like a big hump on the top of the bill. It's a profile thing. But
it
other than
is.
that, they're I don't know, impossible to tell apart. They're more or less the
They're
same bird aside from that
very
bill, which
similar.
is wild.
Yeah,
Back
and
in a couple years ago, I was at the Lower Rio Grande Birding Festival, and they had a smooth bildani, which is actually quite a rare bird in Texas, and a groove bildani hanging out together um,
well,
at on Padre Island, which was really
was
cool to
just
see them right next to each other because that's not a
I
thing
was
you
just
see in
gonna
the AV
say
area
that
very often.
there's a groove build Ani in Southwest Florida right now
Hmm.
that's been there for a while, and it is hanging out with smooth build Ani.
Yeah,
And the two of them sit side by side a lot,
yeah, they do
like
that. Yeah,
right next to each other. Um,
yep.
and so if you go through the Macaulay Library and just filter for groove build Ani in Florida within the last
Mm-hmm. Or
whatever
smooth
past,
bildani in Texas,
you'll see
alternately.
lots of pictures of the two of them side by side,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
good pictures.
Western Cuyahoga Audubon says American woodcocks have been great viewing in some of our parks. Yeah, it's woodcock season,
Yes,
especially for those of
yes.
you in the upper Midwest, and will be for another month or so. They'll be doing their
It
dances.
it is paint time. Yeah, I mean up here we
It's
get them
paint
painting
paint
until the
season for
yep we
painting
get them
birds.
going till the middle of May.
Yeah,
They're
they
already
do. I know the
starting
biggest
now,
week
but
gets them.
they'll go till the middle of May.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
mid-February bird for us down here.
um, yeah, we got a shout out from Jelko. We got a shout out from Jeff Calhoun on Facebook, uh, and says Jeff says he's starting his spring break with the show. Excellent way to
Oh,
start your spring break.
congratulations! My kid's spring
Um,
break is not for another couple weeks yet, so that's probably a sign that I will not be doing the show in 2 weeks because we'll be at Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. I'll be looking
Excellent.
for Mississippi kites, though. It's we're a
But
little bit early for that.
but
Maybe
yeah,
swelltails will be around.
this is the beginning of migration for most people in the
Painted
ABA
buntings
area
will be
in
around.
places like Florida and the Gulf
Maybe
Coast
summer
and South
tanager.
Texas. It's already
Yellow throated warbler.
well underway. But this is when stuff starts to get interesting. So yeah, get out there and bird.
Black and white
So
warbler.
yeah,
Early warblers.
we've got a lot of good birds to get to.
We certainly do. We always have a lot of good
So
birds, Greg. Don't
yeah,
sell yourself short. You always are good at finding
so
stuff. There's
we
some tricky ones this time,
there
though, that
there is
I'm
a
excited to
tricky
talk to
one.
people about. At least
Um,
one.
but first, you still with me, Nate?
Oh yeah, we got the podcast. It came out yesterday. Nick Mason is the curator at the Louisiana State University Museum of Natural History's ornithology collection, which hosts boasts 200,000 specimens of birds and bird parts and bird stomach contents and all sorts of the weird stuff that museum people hold on to when they're looking at
Yep.
birds. We talk about the importance of museum collections when it comes to ornithology and birding knowledge and how the collections are used from on a day-to-day basis. It's a great conversation. He's also did some research on our ABA 2026 Bird of the Year horned lark, in particular talking about the isolated population in Colombia and around Bogota.
Yeah.
That is not very close to any of the other horned larks, but managed to get up there and is in the Altiplano there. And also some cool horned lark research he did in Southern California. I'm sure folks are very familiar with the kind of biology stalwart story of the pepper moth and how the pepper moth started one color and then industry came along to the northeast and turned the trees a different color, darker, and the pepper moth sort of adapted. Well, there's some of that stuff going on with horned larks in Southern California with the rise of agriculture, and museum specimens helped solve that mystery or at least illuminate that mystery. We talk a little bit about that as well. So some good
Awesome.
so there's some good museum talk and there's some good horned lark talk in this week's podcast. And I also mention What's This Bird live. So I'm trying to
Excellent.
tie those two things together a little bit more, and how it is kind of cool that you can almost tell exactly what time of year it is by the questions that people ask and the birds that people ask about in What's This Bird, which is neat.
John Lowry says, "Damn, I wish I knew all this before I went to Bogota." Well, John, it was in the magazine.
Yeah, could
When
have
we
told you. You
about
didn't
horned
ask.
larks.
There's horned larks there. Go look at some horned larks in your backyard, John. They're there too. They're more or
there
less
too.
the same. Actually, they're probably not. They might. Those Colombian birds might be a future split.
Yeah. So, on to our first bird here. This one comes
Dog is
from
going nuts in
New
there, right?
Jersey, coastal New Jersey.
New Jersey.
And we got a looks like a smallish bird standing around on the rocks.
Yeah.
Long bill. Looks pretty sandpipery to me.
Yeah. Plump body, long wings, small head, long bill, kind of strong legs. Most of them are kind of tucked up in that body, though you can imagine that they might be a little bit longer. Yeah, sandpipers have a very unique look, and so I think we can pretty comfortably call this one a sandpiper. I think we can go even farther and try and break it into the genera, the genus of which sandpiper we're talking about. Or at least kind of broadly talking about like marsh sandpipers versus not marsh sandpiper capital, but marsh sandpipers like Tringa sandpipers, like your yellow legs and your solitaries, and calidra sandpipers, which are sort of your classic sandpipers with the big chunky body and the long bill and the shorter legs. Definitely looks like a calidris to me, which is our peeps.
I would agree.
But there's more to calidris than just peeps.
Yeah, and this bird, there's some good hints here as to what this bird is, but then again, remember during migration, birds can show up anywhere,
They sure can.
especially on the coast, and especially shorebirds. When shorebirds are migrating, they can get knocked down by rain, by all kinds of different reasons, because they usually fly high during the day. Although some are nocturnal migrants, but they wind up in some pretty strange places.
They can.
I've seen pictures of like flocks of Dunlin and black-bellied plover sitting on the decks of boats in a harbor because it was the only place they could find to sit down.
For sure.
This bird's kind of.
No, go ahead.
I say this bird's kind of stocky.
Yeah. Very dark, too. I think that's sort of notable. A lot of our calidra sandpipers are kind of classically gray. Maybe there's a little bit of brown. Some of the kind of grass-loving calidra sandpipers, like Bairds or white-rumped, can show some kind of tan beige in there. Bairds especially. There's none of that in this bird. This is kind of a very dark gray, almost purple, which I think is sort of suggestive of where we're going here. But of the birds that we are looking for on rocks, we've got some good options here. There are some sandpipers that very much prefer that kind of hard substrate, a rock, a groin, a pier, things of that nature. And we've got three of them here. Dunlin, purple sandpiper, and ruddy turnstone. I've definitely seen all three of those species on hard surfaces at the coast.
Yeah, and among those smaller calidra sandpipers that you mentioned, this bird has, which is in the upper left there, it has yellowish, orangish legs.
Yeah.
And so that rules out a lot of them.
It does.
Most of them have
big chunk.
have dark legs. And really, for a sandpiper running around on the rocks in March in New Jersey, the number gets pretty small pretty fast, and
it's really only
when
these three.
It really is. And if we go back and take a look at this photo, this is the quintessential, I'm going to give it away, purple sandpiper photo. It is a bird cold. It's puffed up. It's cold.
I am cold looking at it.
It is on the algae covered rocks.
Oh yeah. It lets you get super close. It's another thing.
And they're very confiding. you'll definitely find turnstones out there, and they definitely have the same color legs, but
Yep.
everything else falls apart after that.
Yeah, very
Um,
different bill. Turnstone has a kind of a very unique shaped bill
yep.
among sandpipers. It's kind of short and almost appears upturned. That's just because the upper mandible is straight rather than curved down. Most of our other calidruses, most of our birds in this option are going to have that kind of long drooping bill. Dunlin certainly does. Frequently has an extremely long drooping bill, but it's an all black bill. And the thing
Yeah.
about purple sandpiper is that it's almost always got quite a bit of orange in that bill, and of
Yep.
course the bright orangey yellow kind of legs too. And it's purple. I mean that the color is there's a reason they
It's
call it that,
accurate,
and it's can be gray. It's really more of a gray than a purple. It's like not
but
purple,
it's
but
got this
it's got the
weird kind of
sheen. Yeah,
sheen to it
yeah.
that is definitely noticeable. And
Hmm.
purple sandpipers, even in places where there's a lot of them, they can be hard to see. But like in the Great Lakes and other places wwhere you're definitely looking for them,
Yep. Well, down here
November
too.
and
Yeah,
through
this
the
far south.
winter,
Yeah.
they're very confiding. I will. My life for purple sandpiper was in December at Michigan City Harbor in Indiana,
Hmm.
and it was out on the breakwall that goes all the way out of the harbor where the
Yep.
lighthouse is.
You have to go all the way to the end
And
too.
you have to go all the way to the end.
Yep.
But it was kind of 2/3 of the way out,
Yeah.
and it had snowed a little bit, and there's always like little rocks and stuff on the flat part of the breakwall where you walk out.
Hmm.
And there were 4 of us birders going out there, and we stepped right over. The purple sandpiper
Oh
was
yeah.
hunched up,
Yeah.
like literally stepped over it, and we spent some time looking for it. And then the last person walking by, the bird put its head up, and yeah, that kind of thing has happened to me more than once with a purple sandpiper that's
Yeah.
2 feet in front of you, and it's in a crevice, or it's just got its head tucked, and it
Hmm.
just disappears.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's what they do. And your life for purple sandpiper story is remarkably similar to my life for purple sandpiper, as I'm sure it is remarkably similar to a lot of people's life for purple sandpiper stories. For me, it was an Oregon inlet on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. There's a big inlet, there's a big bridge, and on the south side of that inlet, there is a big rocky groin that they built to kind of try and prevent the sand from moving, but water and wind and sand are
Yeah.
going to move. But anyway, it goes pretty far out, and there's usually a bunch of fishermen at the end of it, and you go all the way out, and it's a bunch of algae covered slick rocks, and there's purple sandpipers walking around literally like 3-4 feet from you. That's what they do. They find that stuff, and there are hard surfaces all up and down the North Carolina coast and South Carolina as well, though they get pretty infrequent down that far south. But you could almost be guaranteed to find purple sandpiper in these places because they are so attached to that kind of habitat. It's really incredible. Whereas Dunlin will be on the beach, Dunlin will be in the sand. Reddy Turnstone will be in the sand sometimes too, but they do really like piers, especially if there's a lot of
Yeah, they
fishermen
do.
around and a lot of bait. So they'll like walk around buckets of bait sometimes. But purple sandpiper, algae covered rocks, like right on the ocean. The
Yep.
more spray, the better. The
Yep.
more wind, the better. That's where you find them. All
Absolutely.
up and down the East Coast. We should
got
mention that there is a similar sandpiper on the West Coast that does
Yes.
something very similar called rock
Very
sandpiper. Almost identical, similar. Very difficult identification. Possible vagrant, I suppose. I mean, they have showed up. I want to say in Texas
They
before.
have been. I think there's a rock sandpiper record from maybe Ontario, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Man, I don't even know how you'd pick that out unless you were like really
Yeah.
paying close attention to your purples, because that is a remarkably similar bird. And likewise, purple sandpiper on the West Coast.
And what you were talking about with the horned larks, there is a population of rock sandpipers that lives in the Pribilofs and winters in the Aleutians and adjacent mainland, and really never makes it away from there.
Yeah.
And looks quite different from the birds that are found up and down the rest of the Pacific coast.
Yeah, for sure. Wayne
got-
Clark, about the boss, says he's seen Dunlin and Lee sandpiper on rocks at times. Yes, those are
yeah.
the other two that we'll do
Yep.
too.
Yeah. I mean, as we started out with, virtually shorebirds can show up virtually any substrate anywhere during migration, and it's So don't habitat is a good way to start telling shorebirds apart, but during migration, always keep that in mind that they'll land on anything.
Yeah, anything goes.
We got Daphne and Rose from Florida checking in, and Matthew Radford. The Great Plains are definitely well represented today. Um, so yes, our mystery bird there is a purple sandpiper.
Yeah, Daphne Rose says had it several times at Huguenot Park in Jacksonville, Florida, on the rock jetty.
Yeah.
Of course, always on the rock jetty. Purple sandpipers love a rock. Speaking of a bird that likes a rock jetty, this rock jetty
Yeah, I mean
theme.
this can't even, this is one of those.
Water bird.
So one of the things that we say here a lot when we see a still image, and especially a still image like this.
Oops, sorry about that.
Lost your. Oh, there you are. Um,
I was trying to turn my audio off because I need to cough. So go ahead and talk
oh,
to.
no worries. So something we say we find ourselves saying a lot here is that if we could see this bird in real life for just a second or two, it would be immediately identifiable.
Simple.
But
Yeah.
from one still image like this, it's very, very difficult, if not almost impossible.
Yeah, we're looking at just before you hit the video, Greg. We're looking
Oh,
at
so
like
you gave it away that it's a video. All right.
we're looking at a water bird.
Yeah.
What looks like on a large body of water, could be the ocean, could be a large lake. Large
San
body,
Francisco.
all dark. Yeah, yeah. So probably the water, probably the ocean or the bay.
Yep.
Let's see. We've got it's mostly dark. It's got 2 white spots on the head. Man, like this could be
All right.
a grebe.
Well, it's got.
This could be a sea duck. This could be yeah. So it's hard. This is a weird posture.
Can't even
for
really
this bird to
tell.
be able to
Can't
sense.
even really tell where it's facing or what that is going on. I mean, it kind of looks
Yeah, I
like.
guess it's got its head turned
got its
backwards, but I don't see the
back-
bill very much.
Yeah, it's.
It could be the back
it's
of the
tough
head.
to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's take a look. And there we go.
Oh, that's much better. Look at that bill. You can see the large bill there.
Yeah. Well, now you can see everything that's going on with this bird, and I'll tell you what, that shape is almost immediately identifiable.
Yeah, for sure.
And
For sure.
the way that it's kind of very buoyantly bouncing around in the water. We can see the tail. It's kind of sticking up a little bit. I'm gonna run that again.
Yeah, I think
So
the
we
size of the
can
bill,
look
the
at
tail
it.
sticking up, the kind of buoyancy that you point out, Greg, does rule out any of our grebes. It
Yeah.
does end
well,
up
and
having
the size of the bill.
and the size
It's
of the
a
bill
duck.
for sure. It's a duck,
duck.
yeah, and it's got a big round head, which what looks like kind of a steep forehead, which I think is going to rule out a lot of our scoters as well, which would be possible, especially a surf scoter, like a female surf scoter on the West Coast.
Yeah. So funny
Yeah,
you
there you go.
mentioned that.
We got him. Yeah, interesting. A bufflehead actually came to mind as well.
Well, I tell you what, that first image certainly
yeah.
looked a lot like a bufflehead.
Yep. From the back. Yep.
And
If you could imagine a bufflehead with its head turned away from you and the 2 cheeks on either side, definitely have seen female bufflehead looking like that.
absolutely, and so yeah, we run through the possibilities here, and I think we kind of land on Harlequin duck pretty quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
The head shape and the buoyancy of the bird really gives it away. When I see scoters, black scoter, this is not a black scoter. The head pattern is completely wrong for black scoter. So it's really surf or white winged if it's, gonna be a contender there. And both of those birds, especially white winged, they tend to move through the water more like barges. They're low, and this bird is very buoyant. And
Yeah, they have
nothing
long
like
bodies. Yeah.
Same, ruddy duck is kind of like a mini scoter, but ruddy duck is also, it's a marsh duck. You do see them out in open water during migration. You'll see them on, mid-sized lakes in flocks. Sometimes you'll see them among flocks of scaup. We get
Certainly
on the
in a
south side
bay
of
where the water
Chicago,
is a bit, where the water is a bit
Exactly.
calmer. Yeah, they're
on
not
the
really
inside of a break wall.
Yeah, precisely.
We'll get big flocks, mixed flocks of scaup and redhead, and there's almost always a half dozen ruddies just kind of snuck in there.
Yeah, usually
but-
much smaller with the tails kind of perked up.
Yeah, but they're another low rider. They don't sit bouncy, buoyant up in the water like this, even though they do show their tail cocked like Harlequin does.
Oh, my friend.
Bufflehead, Bufflehead
low
has
rider.
the single. You got the voice for it today.
Today.
Bufflehead has the single spot on the head, um, and but Bufflehead, that's probably body shape and everything wise, probably the closest. But
I would agree with that.
Harlequin duck is kind of like the duck equivalent of a purple sandpiper. They like the same kind of places. They're if you got a purple sandpiper on the rocks and a duck right in the water, right off the rock, it's probably going to be a Harlequin duck.
I have seen that scene in coastal Massachusetts with the flock of purple sandpipers and then another flock of Harlequin ducks perched up on the same rocks, just a little bit higher. Yes,
they like the same kind of rocky, splashy, and they love to be in the surf and in the waves, and they
love
just kind of
pier.
bounce around in there. Yeah. So yes, our mystery bird here is a female Harlequin duck.
Yeah.
And the males, of course, are unmistakable in breeding. Well, pretty much all the
slate
time.
gray and maroon and all sorts of really cool flavor, colors. But the females, with the double spots on the head, that also rules out Bufflehead. And Bufflehead tends to have a little more white.
And actually, Harlequin duck has 3 spots on the face if you get a good
look
at it.
The front two kind of merge together when you're looking at it.
They can, yeah. But they quite often, like this bird in the comp, it's got 3 very
you
noticeable
can see the 3. Yep.
spots. And so yeah, that's another thing. If you've got the bird close to you, but really the shape and the way that bird behaves, but the head shape in particular is going to give it away, because they have that almost like a mane on the back of the neck, very poofy nape.
Yes, for sure. On a smallish head.
Yeah, and a small bill. Okay, this one, we had some discussion about this bird before we got going here, folks.
So, raptors, especially dark raptors in the West, are that's a tough identification concern. I think we in the East Coast, we tend to we tend to imagine our red-tailed hawks as a certain type. With the dark-phased red-tailed hawks are quite uncommon in the east, east of the Great Plains. Once you get west, the diversity of red-tailed hawks starts really been increasing. I'm not saying this bird is a red-tailed hawk. I'm just saying that
no, red-tail, big
it
hawk
crossed my mind when I looked at this thing. You see a big hawk, red-tailed is always usually
default.
The first one that you need to rule out. Yeah,
exactly. Red-tailed hawk is the default. But this bird, boy, like you said, and Western Buteos, kind of gave it away there. It's not a Cooper's hawk. They're not black.
Right. The wings are kind of long. The tail is relatively short.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about a Buteo or Buteo adjacent hawk here. And there's a lot.
They've moved some of those Western hawks around in and out of Buteo over the years.
Yeah. There's a lot of dark black or blackish birds. Like Nate was just saying, you get out west, a black red-tailed hawk like this is not
There's some really dark
uncommon. You've got dark forms of just about everything, including like broad-winged hawk. It blew me away a couple of years ago. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. We had an amazing hawk watch day in northeastern Illinois, and we had 3 or maybe 4 dark morph, dark type broad-winged hawks.
That's cool. I've never seen a dark broad-winged hawk.
It was neither had I, and it was the first time they had ever been recorded in Illinois, and we had 3 of them, and one of the other hawk watches had another one. It was a spectacular day. But yeah, there is a subspecies or a type. It's not a subspecies, a type of broad-winged hawk that breeds in the Pacific Northwest in British Columbia and migrates along the edge of the Rockies down through New Mexico and could be in Arizona. And it's that bird has always fascinated me, that dark broad-winged hawk. But I'm kind of rambling here a little bit. Let's take a look at the possibilities.
Yeah, a lot of interesting possibilities in the Southwest. Obviously our very dark red tails, common black hawk is around. Dark Swainson's hawks are around. Hook-billed kite, that's an interesting one to throw in there, Greg. Harris's hawk.
Any place, in Arizona, Texas, down, even though really the only place to find hook-billed kite is in South Texas, realistically, that doesn't mean, that's there's always that possibility in southern New Mexico and southern Arizona.
There was one you didn't put in here though.
What's that?
Zone-tailed.
Oh my gosh, you're right. How did I miss that?
Yeah. We'll have to just talk about it as if it's in
We'll
the
just
air.
have to talk about it.
Open up your field guides to page 253.
Yes, open up your if you've got your
and
big
imagine
Sibley,
that it's on that picture.
If you've got your big Sibley, you want to look at let's see here. You want to look at page 131.
Yeah. I think we could talk about zone-tailed in conjunction with common Blackhawk too.
I was just going to say
the issues that
are the same.
concern zone-tailed hawk are the same. Yeah.
Yes.
Because this is a really dark hawk, and Blackhawk is definitely a contender for this thing. Zone-tailed.
So I mean, what we can see on this bird, which is again there up at the top left, it's very dark. The wings, I mean, it's kind of like shuffling its feathers around. The wings don't appear all that long. The tail appears longer than the wings.
Yeah.
So that right there kind of rules out Swainson's and zone-tailed. Because zone-tailed
and ferruginous for that matter too.
And ferruginous for that
matter. Long-winged hawks.
Long-winged hawks. And this bird isn't that. So, yeah, now we're down to red-tailed, Blackhawk, and Harris's.
Are we gonna rule out hook-billed real quick? Hook-billed's got a big old massive bill.
Hook-billed's got that ridiculous-looking face.
Yeah,
yes.
and it doesn't have either of those things.
No, it does not.
No.
But, yeah, it's one of those three, and boy, it's tough.
It is tough because there's clearly something going on underneath of the tail, but the photo is also kind of blown out. So it's really hard to know whether I can trust the pattern on the underside of the tail completely. I do think the tail tip is definitely white, and that's another thing that rules out common Blackhawk and zone-tailed hawk. Common Blackhawk has white tips, but they're not as broad as this one would be. Face, the bill is big. I mean, I could see red-tailed hawk there, but also, Harris's hawk has a similar expression, if we're gonna go that way.
So for me, there's three things that give this bird away, and identify it as a Harris's hawk. One is, like you said, it is blown out, but we can see some detail, and we can see that there is white on the undertail coverts, the vent, the lower belly, and we can
around
see
the feet.
Yep, there is white around the feet. We can see that even though the tip of the tail is in the sunlight, we can see that white continues up a little bit, or at least appears to.
A little bit thick.
But you could see that shadow coming down what's on the left side of the photo from the wing. And so the white at the tip of the tail, that is for real. And you can also see the way that the individual feathers are indicated, but also look at the shape, that rounded, that kind of peculiar, it looks like a popsicle stick, that rounded shape. And those three things lead me to a Harris's hawk, a very, very dark Harris's hawk.
Yeah, and I think we sort of underestimate how dark the front of a Harris's hawk is just generally, because a lot of times when we see them kind of perched
they're variable.
They are variable, but a lot of times when we see them perched on a fence post, on a telephone pole, on a tree or whatever, we are paying attention to kind of that chestnut wings that they have, that kind of really nice pattern. It's a beautiful hawk. But the breast and the front of the bird is really, really, really dark, and when you can't see any of that other kind of chestnut that we sort of associate with a Harris's hawk, it does kind of make the identification, as we do in this as it is in this photo, kind of difficult. At least when I first saw this photo, I was certainly stumped. Like I was like, I'm not sure what this bird is. Harris's hawk and red-tailed hawk were kind of my two main contenders, but I did,
Yeah,
think of common black hawk as well. The face didn't look quite right, and I don't know if it's quite dark enough. Common black hawk is really, really, really black.
it
Um,
is.
but yeah, I mean, I see it as a Harris's hawk now, but it's not cut and dried when you first look at this photo. You got to look at some of
Yeah.
the other things as you did there.
And common blackhawk has a small bill compared
It
to
does.
some of the
Yeah, it's
other
like a
birds
little.
we're
It's a like
talking
a
about.
frog and snake eating hawk. Yeah,
I've never seen one in the United States or in the ABA area, but I've seen quite a few in Central America.
yeah, they're
And
pretty widespread there. Yep.
I always associate them with swamps and
Yeah,
coasts, and
wetlands. Yeah,
they're looking for crabs, and I saw one with a fully inflated pufferfish flying along once. One of those big spiny puffers. But yeah, and Harris's hawk. There's a lot of cool things about Harris's hawk. One,
oh yeah.
it's the most common falcon in movies. You'll find
Right.
you'll find all kinds of
Very common
medieval
falconing bird. Yeah,
you'll find all kinds of medieval movies. It's supposed to be in the Dark Ages in Europe, and they're flying Harris's hawks, or set further east, and they're flying Harris's hawks. Whatever. But Harris's hawks, they hunt in groups.
yeah, they're communal.
Yeah, they're communal hunters.
Social hunting. Yeah,
And they're really really neat birds.
they are. They're nice looking. The kind of wolf pack hunting strategy is really cool. And apparently they're quite susceptible to they're good birds in captivity, so they use them a lot in education, and of course in movies
Yeah.
as well. Yeah, yeah. Sarah Coffey, that hook-billed kite has a fierce bill. Yes,
It
it's
does.
fearsome, especially for snails, because that's
It's
primarily what it
fearsome for
eats.
it's
Yeah.
you know what that it's kind of like it makes you rethink some things like saber-toothed tiger. Okay, so they've got this
Yeah, right.
giant apparatus, and they
Yeah.
delicately pick little snails off the trees with it.
Yep.
It's
Yeah,
like,
they're like a snail kite or Everglades kite.
yeah.
Similar,
But,
similar
But
strategy.
yeah, that is one heck of a schnoz there on a hook-billed
It
kite.
absolutely does. And that with the weird eye, man, that bird is so goofy looking.
It is. And when they fly, they're kind of floppy and strange
Yeah,
looking.
they've got big paddle wings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're fun birds.
Yeah.
Laura on Facebook asks if there's any rare or less common birds they should be on the lookout when in Ellijay, Georgia, in the Blue Ridge Mountains. I mean, I don't know. Right now,
Currently?
currently,
I don't think so.
yeah. In the a little bit later, I believe you would get the rhododendron haunting Swainson's
Specialties.
warblers, which are
Yeah.
really really fun.
Those are reasonably early migrants, too.
Yeah.
So, we're talking early April. So, yeah, southern
Another
Appalachia,
2-3
you're going to be
weeks.
starting to get in those early birds in pretty soon, like yellow-throated warbler and Swainson's warbler. Black and whites. Ceruleans kind of migrate a little bit early too, if I recall correctly. Yeah. So yeah, there's some cool stuff that'll be
Yeah.
coming there.
And
those
David
hills
Scott, looking
soon
at
enough.
this bird, says the tail color is interesting. You could conceivably interpret the gray in the middle as either black in the light,
Yeah.
which is what it is, or white in the shadow.
Yeah.
A careful look rules out the light. Yes,
call.
it is a blue.
Yeah,
It is a blue dress
Great point.
scenario, is what
Yeah,
we're dealing with
great
there.
point. Yep.
And yeah, the gray part is the black feathers that are hit by the light, and the black part of
Yeah.
the tail is what's completely shaded by the bird's body and the perch that it's on.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the lighting is imperfect. It's a little bit blown out, and so it's given that impression. Again, it's a bird that if you saw in their life, that stuff wouldn't be quite as obvious, and it would be maybe more obviously a Harris's hawk. But yeah, that's troublesome for sure.
But as we were saying earlier, you can see that white tip, the way that it's got little teeth on it, that it's actually on the individual feathers, and that's probably not a product of the lighting. But lastly, the rounded shape of that tail is just kind of unique. Those feathers
Yeah,
are very round, and that's kind of unique.
kind
to
of a long
Harris's
tail
hawk.
for a buteo. I don't think Harris's hawk is a buteo anymore. I think it's what is
Yeah.
Buteo gallus. It's a buteoine hawk, but they keep
Yeah.
moving that one in and out.
Okay, now we're going to go to Mexico.
This is not
And
the ABA area.
it is not the ABA area, but the reason, so at the Facebook What's This Bird group, we get birds from all over the place.
We do. We do.
I keep it to the ABA area, but I have on occasion grabbed things from northern Mexico. Yucatan is not northern Mexico.
Not northern Mexico, southern Mexico.
But if you are in South Florida, South Texas, or Southern California, there's a lot of parrots.
Yeah,
and
it's relevant.
There's a couple that we might consider native, but the rest of them are feral populations. And you places in South Florida, like the three that I mentioned, there's parrot roosts with thousands of parrots that come in.
Yeah.
And the genus Amazona, which is called Amazon.
Now it's they're Amazons. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is what this bird is, chunky, green, big
head,
bill, short tail. Yeah. All of those things are that's not parakeet.
Right.
Parakeets tend to be longer and slimmer. But we have a lot of choices, and these are just a few of the choices that you might have in any of those places I mentioned.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not easy because, one other thing, if I may ramble on just here a second longer,
go for it,
is that a lot of the Amazon parrots are range restricted. So, I mean, some of them are not, but a lot of them are. So when you're in a place where you see one, the others aren't a possibility unless they're escapees. Now,
unless you're in Texas or Florida or California, where they all kind of hang out together.
Right. But I mean, even in Mexico and Costa Rica and other places, they have escape populations of birds there too.
That's true.
But so the bird in question here, I think it's showing us all of its field marks, and it's readily identifiable.
Yeah, for these big green Amazons, you've got to see the face, you've got to see the head well, and that's and if you're good at it, the vocalizations are all slightly different. They all are various degrees of squawking, but there's a little bit different on them.
But parrots are parrots, and you get
each other.
You get in South Texas. The red-crowned Amazon is the one that I sort of alluded to as you could call it semi-native. I mean, they're definitely
it's native-ish. Historically, think that possibly there.
Definitely a portion of that population that is honest to goodness vagrants that have settled in the valley. But most of them are escapees. At least that's the current thinking. But you get a bunch of those birds, and then you get another species that's hanging out with all of them. They kind of all start to sound alike, and
because they're all yelling at the same time.
When they're all yelling at each other, yeah. Well, this bird has two things that identify it immediately as a white-fronted Amazon. The first being it's got a white forehead. So that's kind of a giveaway right there. But one of the things I liked about this photo is that it shows the red wing coverts, like what we would think of as the red shoulder on a red-winged blackbird. And that's the only one of the parrots that we have around here that has that. All the other ones have red in the secondary feathers, but only the white-fronted has that red epaulet, which that bird is showing off quite well. Yeah. Now, getting into the other ones, we've got yellow-crowned and yellow-headed, and there used to be, in the pet trade, it was called double yellow-headed if it had like a yellow hood, and they can have anywhere from a yellow-ish forehead like this one all the way to a full yellow hood, and in the mixes in between can be very hard to differentiate.
Yeah, they do interbreed to some extent as well in a lot of places where they all hang around together. So you get kind of these weird middle ground hybrid parrots. Especially in Southern California and Florida, Texas.
Now, I think two of the most difficult ones are Red Lord and Lilac Crowned. And
yeah, I agree with you.
Because both of them have red lores and both of them have lilac crowns.
Yeah, Red Lord has a little bit of yellow underneath the eye.
but not always. I would say 30% of the time it doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's virtually indistinguishable from lilac crown.
Hmm.
And lilac crown, you get them in the light, they're truly beautiful. That lilac color on the crown is really something. And lastly, our red crowned Amazon. If you get a chance to go to South Texas, at the birding festival is great. It's great
Yeah.
fun to go on a parrot trip because the flocks of parrots, they don't roost in the same place all the time. They kind of move around Harlingen.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like a madcap Keystone Cops chase in the van, watching flying parrots to see where they're going and driving around the neighborhoods
trying to find the power lines that they perch on for a brief moment before they head on.
Well, no, I mean to find the trees and where they're going to roost that night. So you get there right as it's getting dark, like 40 minutes before it gets dark, and they start to settle in, and they line up on the power lines before they go into the trees. But it's a fun birding experience to do a valley parrot trip in Harlingen, and you will see thousands of parrots.
Yeah, I'm trying to think which one of these I've seen on those trips in the past. I think I've seen all of them except for maybe the white fronted, but I need to go back to eBird to make sure. But I've definitely seen lilac crowned. I've definitely seen red lord, and I've seen yellow crowned with various amounts of yellow on it.
Yeah.
Among the predominantly red crowned parrot Amazon flocks, they're all kind of in there together. Interesting thing about these flocks is that a lot of these birds are quite endangered, even critically endangered in their native ranges because of habitat destruction, because of the pet trade. And there's a sense that these introduced populations, these feral populations in Southern California and Southern Texas in particular, are sort of reservoir populations where these birds are reasonably safe and reasonably, self-populating. And if anything ever happens to those wild populations, those birds in the ABA area that are semi-urban, those are potential, reservoirs from which they can grab birds and reintroduce them to their native habitats when they get an opportunity to do so. So that's kind of neat. They're pretty benign. They're pretty benign exotics. I don't know that they really cause a ton of problems. They nest in big holes in the palm trees that sometimes the whistling ducks want, but the whistling ducks are doing fine down there too. So I don't think they're getting in each other's way for the most part.
Yeah, and like I said, the red crowned in particular, it's not necessarily, I mean, yes, there are some feral ones, but it's not that far out of range that I believe that what I'm trying to say is I believe that before they started to be introduced, there were red-crowned parrots that
in South Texas especially, yes, because they're native to northeastern Mexico.
Exactly, and the population in South Texas, I believe now, is bigger than what we consider the native population in northeast Mexico.
I believe that's accurate. We have a comment from Tracy Hinchbarger. She has yellow-naped and 2 yellow-crowned parrots, rescue parrots, next to her, and all 3 have red epaulets to some extent on them. I don't know if you want to comment on that, Greg.
That's not on those lesser coverts.
Okay, I see what you're saying now.
Not on the forward edge of the wing. But
yes,
all right.
Yucatan. We had a question about Yucatan Amazon. Is it considered a full species yet? That's just from Wayne. eBird does not have it as a split species. eBird does not have Yucatan Amazon. So I don't think yet, but that's the only authority that I can speak to.
I think Howell considers it a full species, but that
does not surprise me.
That's Howell. Split or get off the pot, one of his famous articles.
Does the white-fronted Amazon hybridize with other species of Amazons?
Oh yeah, they all hybridize.
They're like ducks in that regard.
They are like ducks. Yes, they're communal birds, and they love to hang out with each other. All right, now we're going to come back to my neck of the woods, Warrenville, actually, where my wife's uncle lives, but home to the Fermi Lab, which The ground over the giant collider there is a lot of prairie and lakes, and there's some other open habitat that's maintained there. It's a great place to bird, and you will see a lot of these kinds of birds there during migration.
Yeah, it's waterfowl migration season right now. A lot of ducks and geese are moving, so it's a good time of year to look up if you are in one of those major flyways and see flocks of geese fly over. Um, I know when I lived in the Midwest and I was driving back and forth from college in Missouri, I frequently saw large flocks of geese flying over, and these are geese. You can tell because they've got awfully long necks
Yep.
for waterfowl. Um, the wings are a bit longer and
Even
broader than you would
foreshortened
expect for a
as it
duck.
is.
Yeah, even foreshortened as it is, you can tell that these are long-necked, long-winged birds. They don't have trailing legs out behind them, so they're not cranes. And they look to be flocking, flying. I don't know. Is that north, Greg? It looks north to me. It's away from me. It's facing north. I am facing north, so they're going north.
I'm facing west, so they're going west,
Okay.
which is where Warrenville is from me. So there you go.
There you go.
Um, so let's take a look at some flying geese. Uh, so, I mean, the shape of these birds right away, you can kind of rule out a couple of the darker, these birds, they're obviously not snow geese or Ross's geese in the white form
Yes.
because they're not white. Um, and, the smaller geese like Brant and snow goose, they're short necked compared to Canada
They
and
are.
greater white fronted. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that these birds, the neck is too long. The body shape and the wing shape and everything is just not right for, well, definitely
I
not right for
agree.
Brant. You would not see a flock of Brant in Illinois. But
Yeah,
that aside, I have seen Brant in Illinois, but never more than one at a
not
time.
not a flock. Yeah.
Um, but Brant is kind of a stocky bird, doesn't have
Hmm.
the long wings of some of the other geese. They're not that much of a long distance migrant compared to other geese. Um, Snow goose and greater white fronted, it's really fun when you see them migrating um, to note just how long their wings are. Because
Hmm.
these are long distance migrant.
Oh,
They
long distance
very
migrants. That's
powerful
right.
flyers.
Yep.
Um, and of course, everybody who knows their geese is looking at the picture in the upper left. And one thing we can see consistently across all of them is those black splotches on the belly of greater
Hmm.
white fronted, which gives it the colloquial name speckle belly.
That's right.
Uh,
Yeah, speckle bellies. This is the first thing I saw when I popped those up. A few other points for against snow goose and Canada goose. As you said, Greg, snow goose much stockier, and almost always when you see birds this dark, there's a lot of light birds mixed in with
yeah,
them, so you get kind of a mix. Actually, mostly light birds in
yes,
most of the Midwest. So if they're all dark, they're all the same color. You can definitely kind of rule out snow goose.
yep.
Canada goose. Yeah, the neck doesn't look. The neck looks too long for me too. It's got kind
Yeah,
of that.
but at least here we've got lesser Canada goose, we've got
Mm,
giant
mhm.
Canada goose. Lesser Canada goose has a
Yeah, a
shorter
bit more
neck
stocky. Yeah.
that really gets it down into, when you get cackling and lesser Canada goose together,
Hmm.
you could pick out the cackling, but if you get lesser Canada goose among the larger forms of Canada goose,
Hmm.
boy, they can really look like cackling geese.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And we
Yeah,
get a
it's
lot
a
of
tough one.
those here.
I'm
Um,
sure.
but the but
Yeah, I mean, any of the white-cheeked geese, I think, can be also ruled out because we can see a fair bit of color. The photo's not great, but the
Yeah,
color is pretty true. And when
yeah,
you are looking at any large flock of wild white-cheeked geese passing over, I mean, you can see the white chin, you can see the white kind of reverse
yeah,
saddle kind of wrapping around the face. And I think even in this photo, we'd be able to see some white on the head, and we can't, which is another point for a greater white-fronted goose. But yeah, the smudgy speckles on the belly, that's classic greater white-fronted goose, and it's a
it
quite
is.
common to see large flocks of greater white-fronted goose passing over this time of year all across the center of the continent. Honestly.
Absolutely. And as I pointed out earlier, when you're looking at flocks of birds like this, if it was just one bird with some dark smudging on the belly, it'd be like, okay, am I looking at photo artifact? Am I what am I looking at here?
Right.
But when you see 4, 5, 6 of them and they all have the same thing,
they
it's
can't
like,
all be a photo artifact. Yeah.
exactly, or mud or whatever. It might be. And also, flocks of geese, they like to talk, and they'll tell you who they are if they're going over. And greater white-fronted goose, I just noticed I left the A out of greater. Greater white-fronted goose.
Should have left the E out and be like a cheese grater.
Yeah, exactly. It's got a higher pitched, kind of almost like a little dog barky call.
Like a laugh, yeah.
Yeah, and you can hear them high overhead. They tend to fly very high, and they also northern pintail like to migrate with them. And here we'll
very goose-like duck. Honestly,
we will often see northern pintail flying with greater white-fronted goose.
Yeah, long body, long wings on a northern pintail too. Long neck. Yeah, they look a bit like a goose when they migrate. Of the ducks, they're probably the most goose-like. But they still they have quicker flaps. They have longer kind of pointy wings, and of course that long tail kind of sticks out quite a ways. If you've got enough of the males in the flock, you can see that.
Well, I mean, even the females have a pointed,
have a little bit,
a much more pointed tail than a goose or any other duck.
Yeah.
But so guess what?
We did it. Damn, man, we nailed it too. I didn't think we were going to get there for a little while, Greg, because we were talking about that hawk for a while, and I was like, are we going to get to the end of this program at 2:00? But we got to the end of this program by 2:00 with a little bit of time to mention that if you enjoy these programs, please consider joining the ABA at aba.org/join. Not only do you get not only are you supporting these sort of free resources that we like to offer the birding community, you can also get access to our fantastic magazines, all of our online stuff like North American Redbird Alert and ABA Community, and discounts to a lot of our partners like Zeiss, OM System, Video Books, and a few others. It's a great deal. I mean, you get a lot out of it in addition to it's worth it. It's worth it. And especially get those magazines in the mail to you. They are beautiful. So let's see. If you want to know when we are going to do the next one, please sign up. Go to the website and sign up for our newsletter. We will not sell your email to any of the online retailers or anything like that. We'll hold that close. But you will get a heads up whenever
we won't let Palantir get their hands on it.
No, absolutely. You won't get random spam from pharmaceutical companies.
Exactly. And the link for signing up to the newsletter is at the bottom of every page on our website. So just scroll down to the bottom and hit that little button there.
Absolutely. And of course, if you want to help out, follow us on Facebook, hit like, and follow us on YouTube as well. That's another great way to do it. We tend to put these posts up a couple days in advance, so you'll know. I'm not sure when we're going to be back. 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be on spring break with my family, so it might be a week after that when we come at you again. But you join the newsletter,
or we might have a guest.
Oh, you're gonna have a guest?
We'll
have a guest. Why not?
We'll see.
I'm replaceable.
We're all replaceable ultimately.
We're all replaceable in the end. So thanks everybody for joining us. We are going to be back when we come back, and thanks
we'll
for
let
your
you
support.
know.
Thanks for your comments. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for joining us.
All right. See you guys later. Bye.